One of the most interesting characters that's getting a lot of hype at the moment since Nolan's release of his Odyssey movie is that of Agamemnon. He made a big impact on the screen, and the Odyssey is filled with lots of legends and mythical characters. But I think the coolest thing about Agamemnon isn't the fact that he made one of the coldest sacrifices in history in order to get such power, but that historians have found clues that probably was a real historical person. Before we get to that though, a quick recap of who Agamemnon was. So Agamemnon came from the famous House of Atreides. Yes, that House of Atreides. Just to give you a taste of how cursed his family was, his great-grandfather, Tantalus, got invited to the table of the gods, but he thought this might be a good opportunity to test them. So he killed his own son, chopped him up, put him in a meal, disguised it, and gave it to the gods to see whether they'd be able to discern that they were eating a human or not. They saw right through it. And to punish him for such arrogance, they decided to put him in water up to his neck, where there was a fruit tree with fruit hanging just above him. But every time he reached for a piece of fruit when he was hungry, the winds blew it just out of reach. And if he was thirsty and tried to drink the water up to his neck, it would recede immediately. So he was constantly stuck in a state of hunger, thirst, and interestingly, that's where we get the word tantalizing from his name. But that's a whole other story, but it gives you an idea of the family he came from. So Agamemnon was the king of Mycenae. At the time in Greece, there wasn't one big united Greece. It was actually just little individual nation states. There was Athens, and there was Sparta, and there was Mycenae. Mycenae was the biggest and most powerful at the time. So Agamemnon was king of Mycenae, and his brother Menelaus was king of Sparta. To make it more interesting, Agamemnon and Menelaus, two brothers, married two sisters, Clytemnestra and Helen. Agamemnon married Clytemnestra, who was kind of just obsessed with any man who had power, so tip Agamemnon. But Helen's story was a little bit more interesting. So it was decided by all of the gods and all of mankind that Helen was the most beautiful woman on earth. This a problem for people because whoever married her was worried that as soon as she got married, someone might come along and kill him and steal her. But everyone was interested in getting married. So they came up with an idea. Actually, it was Odysseus, always a strategist, to come up with a clever idea. He said, okay, if you want to be considered to marry Helen, if you want to be in the running to be her husband, beforehand, you need to sign this contract saying that you will defend the marriage of whoever ends up marrying her. Kind of a clever way around it. So this was done, and she ended up marrying Agamemnon's brother, Menelaus, and they were king and queen of Sparta. This came in handy pretty soon because although none of the Greeks messed with Menelaus and Helen's marriage, it was a prince from Troy named Paris who famously came and stole her away back to Troy, initiating the Trojan War. This is where Agamemnon comes in again. So Agamemnon, being the king of Mycenae, the most powerful of the Greek states, now had the power to recruit all these other Greek nations who had made an oath to defend a marriage and get them and come under his command so they could go and destroy Troy and get Helen back. Obsessed with power, Agamemnon was pretty happy with this situation. But there was a problem. See, recently before this, Agamemnon had been hunting in a sacred grove. This sacred grove belonged to the goddess Artemis. And not only that, he had just killed one of her sacred deer. And on top of this, after killing it, he was so proud of his shot, he declared that shot was so great, no one could have done better, not even Artemis. Not a good move. So before they set sail, Artemis stopped all the winds. Over 100 Greek ships ready for battle, just stranded in the water. Now here's where we get to one of the most famous and dark parts of Agamemnon that live in the minds of people even today. In order to gain the winds of victory, he had to make a sacrifice. This sacrifice was of his eldest virgin daughter. There was a line in the Odyssey that I thought captured it really well when Nolan said, "The power of a sacrifice is in the cost to the person making it." It's the same type of logic we see in Naruto, where Sasuke is told in order to awaken his Sharingan and get even more power, he has to kill his best friend. Or in Star Wars, where Anakin has to slaughter all these children in order to gain more power in the Force. To gain ultimate power, Agamemnon had to make the ultimate sacrifice. And it wasn't that he felt nothing, it was that he felt it the most that made it such a big sacrifice. He got what he wanted: power, fame, victory in Troy, but at a terrible cost. So when Agamemnon came home finally after the Trojan War 10 years later, he was welcomed by his wife. She literally rolled out the red carpet to welcome him. But although she put on this display, she hadn't forgotten what he had done to their daughter. In the meantime, while he was away, his wife Clytemnestra had been playing up with his cousin having an affair. Just to twist the knife even more, Agamemnon had brought home a few spoils of war. One was a beautiful Trojan prophetess princess named Cassandra, who was his new concubine. So not long after, Clytemnestra and her lover, Agamemnon's cousin, and that was some whole revenge thing poetically coming together, ended up, when Agamemnon least expected it, throwing a net over him when he was in a bath and killing him gruesomely. Along with this, they also killed Cassandra as well, who hadn't done anything wrong. So these sad, tragic stories are pretty typical from Greek mythology. But what makes Agamemnon so interesting is that historians believe he probably was a real person, with kind of some of the mythological details being added later. For instance, in 1876, a German archaeologist discovered the mask of a powerful Mycenaean king, which he called the death mask of Agamemnon. And even when we look at other records from the times, from other peoples and nations, we find that there's examples like the Hittite inscriptions, which talk of an aggressive Mycenaean king that is also likely to be linked to him. You would think this makes sense, because if there was someone so famously obsessed with power who traveled across the sea and destroyed Troy, which is a real city, we know archaeologically, no doubt we'd see echoes or whispers of him in history like we do with Agamemnon. And I think what makes him so memorable as well is to think of a character who wants his plans realized so badly that he would even sacrifice his own humanity in order to gain the power that he wants. And it's cool, even in movies today like Dune, we see like the House Atreides, who draw their line directly back to him as kind of a cool little narrative thing. Or the way he's stuck in the minds of people since Nolan's film. You can see the character still hits hard today. So that was a little spiel on Agamemnon. I'm pretty new to YouTube. You could like or comment, that would be great. Tell me if you hated it, tell me if you liked it, tell me if there's something you liked from that whole mythological era in Greek history, and we can talk about it.